you've mentioned that, and sometimes we listen to the accuser's voice who tells us, you know what, you've done it before, so why do you want to change now? You've even done worse than you're doing now. But we thank God that He brings people across our path.
Amen.
Because that guy, he would have gone into destruction.
Yes.
But through the mother, God was able to use you.
Yeah.
So that his life is not destroyed, and that his marriage also remains and stands.
And it's a very true testimony. That marriage, there was no hope. But I can attribute it to the praying wife.
Yes.
She told the husband, you know what? I knew you had left me. I knew you were divorcing me, but I could not tell you.
Yeah.
So she didn't understand how things changed. So even for those who are addicted, those who are struggling, there's power in prayer. And one thing you spoke, the will. The will.
Yes.
And even accepting that you have a problem. Because there are people who never accept that they have a problem.
True.
And you see, they say bad attitude is like bad breath.
Yes.
Everybody can feel it, but you are the only one who cannot smell.
Yes.
You just see people avoiding you. So worshippers, most worshippers I've met, their problem is attitude and pride. Remember, the father of pride is Lucifer himself. And he led worship. And most worshippers have to struggle with that thing. Singers, as we said, their attention beat. And they leave the world coming with that because they're in the creatives. There are people who are in the creatives. When I talk about creatives, I'm talking about art, music. And you see, such people are expressive. They like being noticed, being appreciated. And so when they come with that attitude and that motive and that intention, it can be a little bit very difficult. But also as a pastor, when it comes to picking the praise team or choosing the praise team, I strongly feel that pastors should pray about it, and they should also allow God to lead them, because it is easier to work with people who are obedient and submissive. They can be trained than to work with people who have talent and skill, yet they have what we call an unteachable spirit. They cannot be taught. And I see it happens with a lot of musicians. Sorry to say. Sometimes you just see when they are needed for singing, they appear there.
Yes.
When the sermon is going on, they all leave.
Kitambo sana, they left.
So ask yourself, what are they? Do they see themselves as part of worship, as the ministration team, or are they entertainers?
Yes. Yeah.
Because they must respect the church leadership, the pastor.
Yeah.
They must also fear God, number one, and respect Him. And then they must respect the congregants. So those are some of the things that the worshippers struggle with. Issues of pride. So, and pride is the work of the flesh, and definitely if you're a man of the flesh, a carnal mind, you'll be given to pleasing the flesh. Masturbation is about the flesh. Alcohol is about the flesh. So then your God, your belly becomes your God. Being showered with attention, being told, Sister Wendy, you're so beautiful, you're so this. So when you sing, you're not even worshiping God. You are wondering how many people are looking at you and admiring how you're looking. And then that really corrupts the worship, because singers in the Bible, everywhere, they had a special place. When David brought the Ark of the Covenant, when it rested in Chronicles chapter 6, the worshippers were there, the singers. And the way the presence of God is carried, there's protocol, there's order, there's a pattern, there's a style. And singers must be prayerful, they must have a prayer life, so that even the songs that they sing, they must be songs that are inspired, full of the word of God. You know, they will not just sing a song because they like the lyric or to play on the emotion of the people. And for singers not to walk in pride, they should be able to submit to the church leadership. They should work with the pastor so that the pastor is not preaching this message. And you as a worship leader, you want to lead a song that you just feel you want. If pastor tells you, don't sing this song, listen and take it with a kind heart because you're under the pastor. You know, I really like this platform because we are seeing a lot of confusion in the so-called gospel industry. And you are wondering, this industry, is it outside the church? And it is an industry. It is not worship.
True.
Because if you lead worship like here, Wendy, next time I'm seeing you in Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru Park, that you're in the gospel industry, it leaves a lot of questions because worshippers or singers should be submitted to church leadership. They cannot work outside the church.
True.
I don't know what you think. Those are part of the worship.
And I agree with you. Because sometimes you've actually mentioned something I've gone through. You know, you have a team, and my expectation was that they have a prayer life. So I come from where I'm coming from, and then I find them, you know, telling each other a lot of stories 1 hour later. So I'm asking them, did you take time to pray? No, we were waiting for you. And I'm like, really? You know? And so we had to fight about it. They hated me, some left, some remained. But from there, I started to work with them. It is not an easy task because prayer is hard. Prayer is difficult. You know, you need to devote yourself into prayer.
It takes devotion.
Yes.
And discipline.
And maybe that is not what they wanted. But we thank God for this far. So, maybe you can tell us.
So I can feel you.
I have so much to say, but
you are pain, but you know, that is part of ministry.
Yeah.
As you serve, people will wound you. I remember we were just having a discussion before coming on the set, and I told you about hurt people, hurting others.
Yes.
For you to reach out to people, you must be whole. Because the moment you are hurt and you're not healed, because healing is a process.
Yes.
You know, you can easily wound and hurt others very, very badly. And as I told you, worshippers struggling with pride and sin, because the moment you are into pride, the next thing is fornication. All those things that they do, and a lack of submission is very, very dangerous. You know, loyalty. It begins there, because when serving in this ministry as you're serving, God expects you to be loyal. It should not be a burden. Even worshippers, they are supposed to listen to their worship leader. And the worship leader is also supposed to listen and embrace, because when it comes to singing and worship, I guess it's teamwork.
True.
And everybody has something to say or to offer. But one thing I know, decisions and the buck stops with the leader. And so any person, it does not matter how talented or gifted they are, when they are not able to submit to leadership, then you must release them. People don't like these discussions, and they don't like hearing these things, but there's a lot of strife and division, because if you don't with time, there's definitely going to be a breakup. Because strife will be brewing, divisions, gossip, wrong seeds will be planted. People will be gossiping when the worship meets people. A person with a wrong a bitter heart. Because another thing that people struggle with after that, it is bitterness. We are talking about the worship wars, attitudes. Bitterness is another proud people can be bitter people because they can never be told the truth. They cannot be corrected. Some of them feel like you can't do without my voice. So somebody just times on Sunday because you corrected them on Saturday night. I've ministered in some church somewhere, and the pastor comes to the hotel room. It was not in this country. He tells me, prophetess, I've gone to church and the singers are not there just because I spoke to them yesterday, how they need to be disciplined. And what? Somebody decides not to come to church and they switch off their voice. You're not doing that for the pastor. It is for yourself. Because even the pastors, when they come to preach, they are not doing it for men. They are answerable to God. Even you as a worshiper, you are answerable to God with your gift and your calling. Yeah.
Wow. I thought I was the only one who was going through all this, but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. In your experience in ministry, there are people that maybe you identify from afar. You are able to say that so and so needs help, in one way or the other. But then you approach them and they're like, yeah, I really need help in a particular area. But because of they are not committed, they feel like she's just a hindrance to me doing what I need to do, So maybe there's a pastor out here and who is feeling that way. So how would you tell them? Should they let them go? They do what they do, then come back? Or what approach should they deal?
I'm smiling, Wendy. Thank you for that question. Because it took me so many years to figure that out. Most pastors are empathic. We empathize with people.
Yes.
And like someone like me, myself, with my prophetic giftings, I'm able to discern. Discernment is a gift.
Yes.
It's a gift of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes you look at somebody in church and you look again. And I struggled with that. Many times I would look and I would tell somebody, I want to see you in the office after the service. And one would come, I'm the one who would begin and
the
talk.
Conversation,
And the conversation. But when I studied counseling psychology, it really helped me. It answered a bit of that problem because every time I would, in the end, always, in most cases, after a period of time, I would be the one who would end up getting hurt. And I would be like, God, I've really gone out of my way to help this person. When you tell them their troubles, you hear, yes, ma'am, you even get money, you give them, you try to. But I realized something. Unless somebody themselves see that they have a problem and they acknowledge it and they come to you for help, most of the time it is like a wild goose chase. And chances are, as a pastor, you are going to be terribly wounded and hurt. Because in psychology, going for those classes, I learned about setting boundaries. And I learned something, that even if I have prophetic, unless, there are some people you can see they are ignorant and they are still young. Maybe the youth and very young people. Those ones, sometimes you can try and reach out and tell them I'm seeing this, and they can open up and converse. But there's a particular age group after people have gone years, 40, 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very difficult to change their mindsets unless they are willing and they accept. Because when you tell them, after some time, it's called blame game.
Yeah.
They are used to blame games. Some of them, you will look at them and say, I've been seeing you coming to church alone. Is there a problem in your marriage? And you call them and you begin talking. The moment you begin touching the root of the problem, you realize that actually the spouse was not the problem. They are the problem. And that's when things begin to change. And they're like, I don't like this pastor. Why is he interfering in my marriage? I didn't even tell him that I have a problem. He's the one who came here and began to say that he's seen a problem. So, unless you're really confident, led, and you know the person you're ministering to, their temperaments, you must be very, very careful as a pastor. For the young people, teenagers, you can open up a conversation with wisdom. But there's an age when people learn to put boundaries. Sometimes they are comfortable with their cycles. They must be the ones to come and tell you, I'm going through this. They must accept that there's a problem. And even when they're having a problem, they must be willing to look into their belief systems, their patterns of behavior, and they must be willing to change. Because what I've noticed with the church, and we love this word, you just pray. People who are not willing to change and confront their negative behaviors, you'll always hear, when you're in bed, just pray for me. There is the place of prayer. And there's the place where you must accept that there's a problem.
Exactly.
God has given you a brain and you must be willing to confront that problem and to change that behavior. So if there's a pastor who is hurting because they told somebody this and this, I hope my advice will help you. There's an age bracket when people reach, unless they come to you and tell you themselves, don't even go there. Some of them want scapegoats.
Just pray for them until they come.
You keep on praying.
And
when they bring themselves, the first thing, ask them, are they willing to change? Because you cannot change anybody. People change for themselves, but you cannot change anybody. And people belong to God. It is God who has the power and the ability to change people. Because even in church, pastors have been betrayed. They've been wounded by people who want to draw them in their issues. It's called entanglement. We've not been called to entangle ourselves. This person, they've gossiped, they've told everybody their story, and they've always found scapegoats. So pastor refused to be a victim and refused to be entangled in people's affairs. Know when you have to let go. And even as a pastor, not all pastors are counselors. Sometimes when you cannot handle things, refer them to a professional counselor or somebody who has counseling skills in church. Because as I said, with pastors being empathetic, sometimes they end up being wounded, being entangled, and being used as scapegoats. So you can give word of knowledge, word of wisdom, reach out to people, especially the youth and the teenagers, because some of them are ignorant. They are naive, and their hearts are still not polluted. But when you see a 60 or 70-year-old person, just be sure before you open your mouth, unless they've told you they have a problem. I think that's wisdom.